Alright, well this is all the gear. I'm about to get picked up by Dirk and head out to the airport. Got the backpack, day bag filled with all camera gear just because I don't want to check it in. Rifle there, bipod, or tripod I should say. So we're all packed and ready to go. I'm must admit a little bit nervous. I always get a little bit nervous before a big hunt. I think it's important to know that Mother Nature's a big force to be reckoned with, and we've got pretty good weather coming up, so I don't think we have to worry too much about there being any big rainfall events to swell the rivers up or any big snow dumps to push us off the tops. But I still have a healthy respect for Mother Nature, and I'm really going to enjoy it. Alright, we're on. Well, we're finally in Melbourne. I look at this as just Sambar country, so we've picked up the Land Cruiser and we're going to head up into the bush tonight. We're just grabbing a little bit of fuel, that is cooking fuel, and we're off. A big journey tonight. I don't think we'll get in until after midnight, but Land Cruiser's going to do it for us. Well, Dirk and I are in the middle of the national park now, and we're about to get to our first crossing, which is just up here.
Having never been into the catchment before, we took it slow getting into the national park to where we rolled out our sleeping bags and slept under the stars with the tarpaulin tied off to the tray of the Land Cruiser.
Well, this is morning one, and Dirk and I spent pretty much all night driving until 3:30 in the morning, and we've come as far as here. So we got to a section of bush last night that had quite soft soil in it, and it looked pretty, it looked like it had some deep sections, and I don't want to risk getting stuck as we don't have a recovery vehicle. So we're going to use our Shanks ponies to get taken right up into the head of this country up in here. I'm just glassing some faces opposite camp, where we slept anyway. We just slept under the stars last night. I only got a couple of hours sleep. It's just come on, what is the time now? 7:15 at the moment.
While I gleaned the opposite bush faces and scoured the river flats for fresh sign, Dirk fried up some of the heavier food items for the trip. The terrain was a beautiful mixture of sparsely spread mature eucalyptus and gum forests with a relatively open understory laden with green pick and steep sloping gully systems with ledges and broken cover, an ideal habitat for sambar.
Oh yeah, that's the feeling of a backpack. You know you're living when you put one of these on.
With packs laden with a week's worth of food, clothing and filming equipment, an 8-kilometre walk into uncharted terrain lay ahead of us for day one.
Well, that marks the first sort of bit of deer sign. It's a bit old, and I'm hoping that we're going to see more of it here on up. We've just sort of left the 4-wheel drive track, and I don't think there seems to be a track here, so hopefully it gets more remote as we get further up. It's quite nice we're along this river, so we can have plenty of water on our way in. Maybe not. Maybe I'll keep my feet dry. Not that I care too much, but sort of treat it like a bit of a challenge to begin with. Keeping your feet dry, seeing how long you can go with your feet dry. Bit of gear there, loaded to the brim that is. Making good progress. We left the track probably a kilometre ago, and already we're starting to see the sign freshening up. Got a good rub just here where Dirk is, and another rub behind it, and starting to see a bit of sign coming into the river. Not a huge amount and not all that fresh, but that's okay.
The open nature of the forest canopy offered us ample opportunities to drop the packs and use our binoculars to penetrate into the bush in search of soft shapes in any movement.
It's awesome.
This was Dirk's first time hunting in the Victorian Alpine National Park, and immediately he was impressed with everything that the diverse terrain had to offer. Interestingly, I started to notice that tributaries and side streams, some of which were major catchments, had no flowing water at all due to the drought-like conditions experienced over summer. I was starting to rethink our original plans, which were to climb high and hunt above the bushline, and instead focus in the lower to mid reaches of catchments where there was access to food and water. Even major rivers, which I had expected to flow at least mid-thigh, were lucky to be mid-shin in height.
Could be dragons in this gorge. Big old dinosaurs and wizards, fairies.
With the endless river crossings as we followed the snaking and meandering river, reliance on our core stabiliser muscles and sound foot placement was critical. Generally, what works for me is that I will shorten my strides, bend my knees more and plant my feet in between rock clusters, thereby avoiding stepping on singular rocks that may roll out from under my feet.
Sign at my feet right now, actually, and it's quite damp. It's not wet, but it's quite damp in here, so hopefully that means that there's a bit more moisture in the soil. And it's just screams deer. Dirk and I have got out of the first gorge. I think there's still one more gorge to come, but there's quite a bit of good country between us and the next gorge, and we've just come on to quite a bit of stag sign and rubbing. Some of it's fresh, some of it's quite old, but that's promising. And the wind is still sort of lightly drifting down, which is unusual for this time of day. It should really be going up, but I guess we're in quite a shadowed gorge, so it might still be quite cold, but yeah. But anyway, it's midday now, and I don't suspect we'll see much moving until maybe 3 o'clock this afternoon if we get into some good country. Oh, it's so hard to stalk 35 kilos on your back. And it's probably not so much the weight, I don't mind the weight, because I can carry that fine, but it's the bulkiness of the bag. Keeps scratching my way through. Such an unnatural noise, you know. When you're matched up against an animal that's got ears the size of Dumbo, it makes for a pretty good challenge. There's the old bit of sign down here. A couple of stag prints and a lot of hind and yearling prints. The only consistently fresh sign has been dog prints, which is a bit of a shame. Look at those sun-baked faces. If it was cold, which I'd be, it's coming on to lunch now, so Dirk and I are going to make some lunch.
After a muesli bar and a handful of raisins and nuts, Dirk and I split up and sidled on each side of the main river towards a pre-identified fly camp.
Quite a lot of fresh sign here. I reckon I'm going to put up a deer very soon. I've just climbed straight up into a face that looks nice for deer, and immediately I can smell deer. That very pissy, urine-y, sort of musty, sort of sweet smell. Oh, it's a strong smell anyway. A distinct smell. Now, I don't normally like to do this, but I'm gonna get in their face today. It's now midday. I don't expect to see them feeding, so I'm going to walk them up and try and find a game trail and just slowly walk the game trail, keeping an eye out for any bedding areas. And already I'm on game trails here. See, look, there's another 2 game trails below me. So this is obviously somewhere where they sidle. That's the great thing about Sambar, is that they sidle. So if you've got a big face that you can glass into and they start moving, you should be able to pick them up moving from them. Something just above me. Just a stick breaking. I'm making a fair bit of noise coming through this game trail. The pack's just too big. Catching on too much stuff, making plenty of noise scratching.
After putting up a deer which was bedded just up off the game trail and below a series of amazing ledges and broken bush faces, I decided to stop filming and focus more on the hunting. Often to do both well is a truly difficult balance to get right, and one for which I am clearly still cutting my teeth. As the day wore on, I was eager to get to fly camp number 1 and set the tent up so I could pop out for an evening stalk.
I'm back in Jurassic Park. I've got those million-year-old cliffs behind me as I go down through a Sambar tunnel. Yeah, interesting country. Very interesting country. Bloody hell. This is going to be impossible.
Copy, Dirk, you on channel?
I did that saddle. There's some sign there, old droppings and stuff, but not much else.
So how far up from the saddle are you?
So probably about 600 meters, I'd say.
Okay, so you should start to see quite a big red bluff on your right.
Yeah, it's just coming into my view now.
Oh, coming into your view, so you're not underneath it yet?
No, not yet.
Okay, I'm about a kilometre further up than you, so I'm going to push on a little bit further past where we thought we were going to camp, and I'm trying to find somewhere flat to camp that's right in the river so that you can easily find camp.
Copy that. I'll just make my way slowly up, so I'll find you.
I'll leave something like Blaze Orange in an obvious place, and then camp won't be far from that, on hopefully a sandy flat.
Yeah, very good. Copy that.
Okay, Roger. I'll tell you what, let's call in half an hour on the half hour.
Roger.
Okay, just take it easy too. I don't want you to slip and hurt yourself on those shitty rocks.
Yeah, no thanks, mate. It's okay.
While waiting for Dirk, I assembled the Stony Creek bivvy fly, which comfortably sleeps 2 persons with all our equipment kept under cover. It weighs approximately 2 kilograms and comes with one pole that creates a large vestibule space that you face into the wind. This Stony Creek bivvy was more than adequate for this style of backpack hunting.
Alright, set up fly camp. Dirk's on his way up the river, he's not far behind me. Come on to 2:45, which is about the time we'll start leaving camp. And poke up one of these gullies and glass onto the opposite faces in the bush.
Made it, eh? I went up, I went down, left, right, through the river, back again.
Alright, got my 2 head torches, because I'll be needing those. Far out. Feels like I've got a pair of wings on my back. Is it?
Alright, I've just left Dirk. He's been left with the good country that's got a bit of grass on it. I might sidle into some other faces, some bush faces. It's pretty fresh. It's in the last few weeks anyway.
I've just climbed this face straight up out of the river. It's given me a great vantage point. That face over there, that face looks ages away. But surprisingly, the closest part of that corner, that open face, is 250 metres is the closest corner, 300, and then it extends out to 570 in the far distance, which is far too far for me to shoot. But anything out to 400 for a good at looking animal, would have a crack.
Right, I've just rubbed a whole lot of eucalyptus leaves, just scrunch them up and rub them on my body and stuff. I smell strongly like eucalyptus, hoping that helps mask any scent of the wind swirls. There's these beautiful faces behind me that I'm hoping to catch something move out onto. It's basically a couple hundred metres. There's one on this face.
Having found prominent deer sign about 8 kilometres into our backpack hunt, it was now time to slow things up and move quietly under the background noise of the creek. Along both margins of the creek were fresh rubbings and a reasonable amount of sambar sign.
It's not doing it justice. It's so dark. This the brightness is up as bright as it can be. Right now I cannot see that with my eyes. In fact, I'll get the GoPro going, because the GoPro is a little bit more realistic. Alright.
So this is just a test, because it is pretty dark.
And I've been filming this spiker off my Sony camera.
Stuff it. There we go anyway. Balls deep. So it's a couple of hours been dark now, and I've been boulder hopping my way down the river, which has been a bit slow, but I can't be that far away from camp now. I haven't got my GPS marked for the camp, but I know that the camp's right in the river, so I can't miss it.
Nothing beats stumbling late into camp to be greeted with a blazing fire and hot cup of coffee. No words were exchanged, nor were they needed to sum up what had been a big first day backpacking into Victoria's Great Dividing Range. It was a pleasure to be sharing a campfire with another hunter whose origins tie back to one of the most iconic continents of all time, Africa. And it was apparent that Dirk was soaking up his crash course introduction to sambar hunting and all that the Victorian Alpine National Park had to offer. The lure of one of Australia's most revered and respected game species, the sambar deer, had well and truly taken a hook of Dirk, a phenomenon that many sambar hunters have experienced and can attest to over generations.